Greetings, distinguished followers, chosen chimp here. Let me show you my eyebrows. I have no real way of introducing this video because I've watched the Giggle and there is so much to unpack. I mean, I have actually no idea where to start other than to say this is probably the maddest episode of Doctor Who I have ever seen. If you haven't seen it, what on earth are you doing on the internet? You've probably seen a ton of spoilers already, and Russell T Davies did warn you about that. So if by some chance you haven't, then get off the internet, watch the Giggle, and then come back and watch this video. So this is it, folks, the culmination, the Regeneration episode, the big one, part 3 of 3. Yeah, so this is interesting. I've been kind of, sort of up and down with these specials, and it's not really the quality of episodes I've criticised, it's more the fact that were they worthy to take on the mantle of anniversary special? Both the Star Beast and the Wild Blue Yonder did kind of come across more as standalone episodes which could have really fit anywhere and any time and in any place. But maybe I'm being a little too harsh in my judgment, and maybe I was particularly harsh in my criticism of the Wild Blue Yonder. I had a lot of people in the comments come into its defence, and I respect that, and I much prefer it when I like something and somebody tells me that it's crap. I really don't appreciate it. But when I kind of dislike somebody and somebody tells me that it's good, then I actually get really inspired by that. But that's not to say that I dislike the Wild Blue Yonder. Like I said, I think it could have happened anywhere. But letting it settle in and watching it back and thinking about all the events, yep, it was cool, and big respect to all of you for liking it. Like I always say, the whole point of watching Doctor Who is to have fun, and if you accomplish that, and you win. And what a lot of fun the Giggle was. Yeah, like I said, if I kind of dislike something and somebody explains to me why it's good, then I get inspired. I kind of draw the line a little bit when it's Russell T Davies trying to explain to me why Spice Up Your Life is a good tune, but hey, it's Doctor Who, isn't it? I mean, I don't much care for the Scissor Sisters, but when the Masters boogie into that, I'm digging it. So yeah, that was an amazing scene, and we'll get to that in a minute. This is an episode, this is a finale. It was great. It was so good, just bonkers off its head. The last 15 minutes, I was in a completely delirious state. It was travelling faster than my brain could catch up with it, and I'm grateful for the journey. I guess this is what I wanted all along. I love this. I absolutely loved the Giggle from start to finish. It was so good and so interesting and so layered, and such a wonderful payoff to the fans, and the surrealism clashed with the humanity, the science clashed with the realms of impossibility. It was just Doctor Who at its finest, and its brazen attempt to reinvent the wheel just also really worked for me. My friend James, who for the purposes of privacy will remain unnamed, sent me a message asking for my verdict immediately after I watched this when it was live on BBC One, and I couldn't immediately give a verdict. I had to sit down and think about it, and gradually all these elements kind of settled in, and then I watched it again this morning to make my notes for this video, and what can I say? I'm really, really pleased with this. Start to finish, this episode did not waste a single moment. There was no dilly-dallying, there was no faffing, there was no wasted scenes, there was no wasted dialogue. It was tight. I was worried how they would convey such a pivotal moment in Doctor Who's history in the space of an hour and 1 minute, when finales are generally given to be in 90 minutes or more these days. But it did it. and it did it just by streamlining everything and giving you only what you needed. Straight away, flashback, 1925, Soho. Man walks into a toy shop, and there he is, toy maker. No beating around the bush, he's there, right in front of you, and he's talking in a stereotypical, overly stereotypical German accent. Overly stereotypical by design, because the clever thing about the reinvention of the toy maker is that it isn't really a reinvention. The most controversial thing about the original toy maker was the fact that he was dressed as a Chinese mandarin, which is perceived today as a stereotype, and Russell T Davis's writing has played into that. The toy maker loves stereotypes. He loves generic, over-exaggerated stereotypes of German people, of French people, of British people, of American people. He makes an insensitive, mildly, well, casually, extremely, however you want to call it, racist comment to the guy who walks into the shop due to his skin complexion. And that lays the groundwork for the character. Everything you need to know in one opening scene. Perfect. Neil Patrick Harris, straight away, his performance is stellar. All this time I just wanted a tangible, three-dimensional villain that you could see and you can hear, that was right in front of you, and the humanity, whether it was an alien or a robot or whatever, just really just to kind of get into the bones, brains and guts of Doctor Who villainy in the great tradition of characters such as the Master, etc, 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 and this was the one. So after the flashback scene, the toy maker, he has basically hijacked the invention of television and subliminally implanted a message to send everybody mad almost 100 years into the future. And then it cuts back to present day. And we are in what is supposedly London, but I know for a fact that it was filmed in Bristol, because back in 2022, a work colleague of mine sent me a text message while he was out on a job in Bristol saying they are filming Doctor Who. And later that day, there were all these leaks and hot off the press videos blowing up on YouTube of all these scenes of cars crashing into each other and people running around like maniacs, and David Tennant and Catherine Tate running around wondering what in the blue heck is going on. And it's great to finally, after, what is it, like a year and a half, to finally get the resolution as to what this was, what this mysterious Doctor Who storyline was going to be, and here it is. And that goes for so many other things in this episode. All these little snippets of the trailers that have rested in our brains since Christmas and before. Everybody thinks they're right. Everybody thinks that their opinion is the correct, definitive opinion. So naturally, nobody agrees with each other, and it is outright chaos. When UNIT come along to apprehend the Doctor, and he gets introduced to Colonel Ibrahim, then the chopper flies over with the Doctor and carrying the TARDIS, and you see this expansive shot, you've already seen it in the trailers already, of London in chaos, smoke. It's all just completely and utterly off the hook, and this is maybe about a week after the Star Beast turned up and made that big volcano in the ground. But we're not even worried about that now. This is a brand new thing. This is humanity turning in on itself. We meet all the old cast. Kate Lethbridge's back, and then it's Mel. Mel's returned after all this time. Bonnie Langford, great stuff. And the best thing about seeing Mel, I love Mel, she doesn't scream once. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mel. And there's a robot as well. What's the robot's name? Vlinx. The great thing about this introduction to UNIT is that there are some mysteries about this base and this new establishment of UNIT that doesn't get explained. Now, obviously, we're going to get a spin-off series. So this kind of foreshadows that. I noticed at Shirley's desk there was a bizarre orange sphere, so presumably we'll get some more explanation on that. And they've got a robot, got a big old robot. Did I miss something there? Has that turned up somewhere else in Doctor Who yet, or is it a brand new feature? Tell me in the comments. I haven't researched because I did my internet blackout thing where I don't look at anybody else's reviews or anything to make sure that my criticism remains solely objective. So I might have missed the obvious there. But we're in the UNIT headquarters. You got some of the old gang, some new favourites too, and the Doctor is trying to piece together what in the heck is going on. And it eventually causes him to deduce the fact that TV has been hijacked since its beginning by a la 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 sort of message, and whenever everyone hears it, it sends him into this state of I am supremely right. Kate Lethbridge turns off her Z-Dex thing, and then she's making all kinds of terrible faux pas which she's immediately embarrassed about. I don't know why she did that, but it proves the point that this society that's thinking it's right all the time just cannot function. You've got politicians, news readers spouting this awful version of the truth, which isn't really the truth. It's just a arrogant segment to their character which has drowned out any sense of kindness and compromise, which is really, really bad in the case of human beings. It's the perfect way to disarm the human race. So the Doctor figures out that this is some kind of puppet, and therefore it needs a puppet master, and that's when he starts to twig that this is an old foe. Again, no messing. Straight in the TARDIS, straight into the Mr. Emporium toy shop, and there it is. The Doctor and the toy maker reunited on screen for the first time in 57 years. It kind of disregards expanded media. Never mind, you can canonise it still, I'm sure it works, it's fine. The last time the Doctor and the Toymaker met each other for all intents and purposes was in the Celestial Toymaker back in 1966, and the dialogue and exchanges are so rapid and so fluid. The Toymaker, he just cannot begin to shake off this cringeworthy, playful aspect of his character where he's always just taking the mick and he's always putting on accents and he's always engaging in inane conversation about games and balls. And by contrast, the Doctor is absolutely just horrified that this ancient being of infinite, almost godly powers has returned after all this time. It's bad news for the human race. And immediately the Doctor and Donna get trapped in an infinite corridor full of all kinds of spooky stuff. Cue the scary segment. Dolls. Who doesn't love a good scary doll? The man who was the employee of John Logie Baird has been turned into a tortured puppet, and Donna Noble goes into a room where some baby dolls and a small doll woman are saying all kinds of cryptic, murderous things, and yeah, it's pretty creepy. I mean, it's good creepy stuff. Watch the Doctor Who Unleashed if you haven't watched it already. There's a whole segment about the puppeteers and the way that they make them move, and the design and the humanity and the attention to detail is very, very impressive. I love how much attention to detail goes into these scenes, which are actually fleeting on screen. It makes them really count, because at no point during these scenes are you thinking to yourself, yeah, this is a bit unrealistic. It just kind of passes you by in one fluid, scary narrative moment, and that's because all the people who were working on it just did an incredible job. It's great to see. I love these scenes. They really are the glue that hold these episodes together, even if they don't last for very long. And Donna Noble is just Donna Noble about it. Yeah, it's a creepy doll. It tries to sort of strangle her Auton style, but whereas the old fuddy-duddy in Terror of the Autons got strangled and killed, she just pulls it away and smashes its head against a wall and then kicks it across the room. The Chosen Chimp approves. So the Doctor and Donna throughout this entire scene or throughout this entire segment of the story are having a conversation about how the Doctor is unable to settle down, basically, and how he is constantly running, and every time there's a new pivotal moment in the mythology of Doctor Who, he just continues to run, and it's just built up and built up and built up. It was bad enough with the Time War and everything, but now he's got the Flux and the Timeless Child thing riding on his back, so there's this whole question of when it's going to stop. plot point. And hot off the heels of this reminder to the audience that the Doctor is just unable to settle down and he's never going to let his past catch up with him, the toy maker plays on this in spectacularly fan-serviceable fashion. I don't know if what I said were actual words. Anyway, so comes the bit that we've all seen in the trailer where he goes, "Worldwide premiere." I don't know what that was, sorry. He's doing a puppet show, and it's a retrospect of everything bad that's happened between the Doctor and his companion since David Tennant regenerated. First, it's Amy Pond, a little puppet, wearing the same clothes as she did in Angels Take Manhattan. Yeah. So the toy maker does the Amy Pond puppet, and then he cuts the strings to symbolise the fact that Amy Pond was touched by an angel. He's saying she was killed, and the Doctor explains how it was more complicated than that. And then the same thing goes for Clara, and the same thing goes for Bill. And I love the fact that they brought all these things back in. I love the fact that these previous installments of Doctor Who, which would otherwise seem irrelevant, are brought back into the fray, and maybe this is the serviceable 60th anniversary-ness, because there's no other real reference to the Matt Smith saga, there's no other real reference to the Peter Capaldi saga until now. And the Doctor acknowledges it all every single time, and then it gets to the Flux, which was the big bad, and it's no longer about companions, it's about the entire universe getting destroyed as the toy maker's cutting all the planets. This isn't the Doctor's fault, necessarily. But he's being a right git about it, and the Doctor stops this the only way he knows how, by standing up and saying to the toy maker, "I challenge you to a game." So the toy maker's got the Doctor's number up until this point, but then the Doctor has the toy maker's number by throwing it right back at his face, making him stop this spectacle of getting inside the Doctor's head. Now he's in the toy maker's head, and let the games begin. Oh, by the way, there was a nod to the Cybermen as well in reference to what happened to Bill. I absolutely, completely adore the way the toy maker says the word Cybermen. That will live with me forever. Excellent. So, two other bombshells. Extreme bombshells, in fact. When they sit down to play their game of cards, the toy maker talks about two things which foreshadow a hell of a lot of what's probably going to come in Doctor Who. The first is the Master is trapped in one of his teeth after a game, after the Master begged for his life. Presumably Sacha Dhawan. Do you know what? If the Master comes back later on in Doctor Who and it's still played by Sacha Dhawan, I will not complain, because he was excellent. And I'll leave it at that. The second was this thing of, I'm not looking at my phone, the one who waits. Some kind of big bad. Again, did I miss something there? Is it brazenly obvious what the one who waits is? If you think you know what the one who waits is, please drop it in the comments. I have no idea. But whatever it is, it's so bad that even the toy maker, a celestial being of seemingly infinite power, ran away from it. Nice. Good job, Russell T. Let the games begin. So, they play cards, they do a best out of three thing, and the stakes are raised to fight for the fate of planet Earth. The toy maker wins the card game, but the Doctor's like, do you remember when I was William Hartnell in 1966? I won that one, so it's actually 1-1, so it's best 2 out of 3. So they return to unit headquarters, and I gotta tell you guys, I don't much care for the Spice Girls, but this scene was absolutely fantastic. And I suppose I better get this out the way now. The Chosen Chimp is proud to introduce another edition of Unit doing stuff. Just stop the music, alright? Just rose petal machine guns, trapped in bouncy balls. I don't know what else you want from me. I like their big gun though, the galvanic beam, capable, according to Kate Lethbridge, of picking up a pebble on the moon. That reminds me of the Portal gun from Portal. And I was hoping Unit would bring out a big old gun based on computer games. You've got so many different choices of gun. You've got the BFG from Doom, you've got the Railgun from Quake, you've got the Mavity gun from Half-Life. But they made a good choice on this one because, I mean, the toy maker immediately takes control of it before Unit get a chance to use it. Oh no, wait, they do use it. It's to destroy the satellite of someone else's country. Great stuff. And so ends Unit doing stuff. But anyway, back to the Spice Girls dance scene. This was brilliant because it was the perfect way of combining silly music video surrealism with real life violence, sort of. Okay, so he does the dance with Kate Lethbridge and then throws her into a wall and it looks like it hurts. He does the same thing to Mel, he spins her around and she falls and it looks like it hurts. He turns Unit into bouncy balls, which is funny, but then you see the face in one of the balls screaming in agony. And yeah, it just combines this absurdness with horror and violence, and just Russell T is great at this sort of thing. Perhaps if it was under the writingness of Stephen Moffat, he'd have tipped more into the horror element and less into the silly element, but Russell T's style is to have that and make it plausible and implausible simultaneously. This was essentially a glorified music video, but that's the point because the toy maker rigged it as such. He's making a mockery of planet Earth's central hub of military defense and just arsing around in the stupidest way possible, dressed like, well, I consider that to be a throwback to Sergeant Ruggs in the Celestial Toymaker. But that whole scene was just great, man. It was daft. For somebody who doesn't watch Doctor Who, they'd look at that and they'd go, yep, that is stupid. And I'd be like, yes, it is, and that's the point. Yeah, I love this. By this point in the story, it's given us so much. We've had so much bang for our buck, and then it goes over to the next portion, and everything after is just an absolute blur of madness, or at least it was the first time I watched it. I was just in a complete state of delirium for the final 20 minutes of this show. So the Toymaker hijacks the galvanic beam, and the Doctor is making a plea to sacrifice himself so that him and the Toymaker can do what the Toymaker originally wanted of the Doctor back in the Celestial Toymaker, and that was to sit in some plane of existence, playing games with each other for the whole of infinity, never getting bored. Hartnell's Doctor refused. This particular Doctor is willing to do that because it means he at least gets to save planet Earth. But the problem is the Toymaker loves planet Earth for all the bad things, for all the selfishness, the greed, the arrogance, the games, the endless fighting, and the reason why he has made everyone to think that they're right all the time is because they always win and everyone loses, and the games play infinitely over and over. He is the ultimate agent of chaos on planet Earth, and he decides never to stop. So he turns around and he shoots the Doctor right through the chest and he kills him. Excuse me. I need a drink of water for this. It's nice and pink. If Mr. Russell T Davis's plan was to make a regeneration scene that nobody saw coming, I mean, maybe one or two people did, I don't know, but he succeeded because, man, oh man, who could have predicted it would have gone like this? He's invented a new thing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's perfectly serviceable in the mythology of Doctor Who, because as he said in Doctor Who Unleashed, it gets to create a scenario where two Doctors, past and present, have an opportunity to, what's the expression? Change the guard, hand the keys over to the new one. It's by regeneration. The Doctor, he's about to regenerate. He doesn't say, I don't want to go this time. He does the much more humble and dignified Alon-Z thing, and then he splits in two. It's Ncuti Gatwa standing alongside David Tennant. Ncuti Gatwa, the new guy, he's here in his pants. And there doesn't seem to be any post-regeneration madness. He's like, it's kind of what I predicted in the first video I made in this studio, when I said about Ncuti Gatwa being this composed force that can just come down and take control and reassure everyone that it's okay, I've got this, I can take it from here. I had no idea it was going to be like this, but it did sort of play into my theory, and it did sort of play into my theory that I said last week about the Doctor just not wanting to face up to a new future. Kind of, it's open to interpretation, but the very concept was absolutely crazy. After that, the game changes completely, and then there's two Doctors playing catch with the Toymaker. Again, who would have seen this coming? It's a game of catch with a ball to save the universe. And Doctor win, and the Toymaker is defeated. He gets folded up like in that Paper Mario game and put in a box. And just before he does, he says, "My legions are coming." The one who waits, legions are coming, Starby saying, "Wait till I tell the boss," and the Master in a Tooth. That's 4 things we get to look forward to, and maybe they're all interspliced with one thing. I don't know. Lots of stuff to come. But man, oh man, this was absolutely wild. Ncuti Gatwa, he is on the pulse immediately. He is everything you could want from a new Doctor in the modern era. He is energetic, he is boundless. The "someone tell me what the hell is going on" isn't in a obscure plane of grey clouds like the trailer originally tricked us into thinking. He's just standing there on the unit headquarters, and he's just great, man. Because the post-regeneration madness doesn't happen, it allows us to immediately jump into the energy that this new, young, brand new, freshly cut Doctor is giving us, the audience. And him alongside David Tennant, I just think it's wonderful. Before we get into what happens next, I'm going to give one final nod just to how thoroughly good Neil Patrick Harris was as the Toymaker. In one of his last speeches, when he talks about being a being of having a vastness that will never cease. It's so well presented. I'm so good at this. He not only switches between all these different accents and all these different stereotypes, he does at the end what I perceive to be a note-perfect impression of Michael Gough's Toymaker back from 1966. The way he talks, the diction, the crispness of his voice. I haven't checked up on this, I haven't read if my theory is correct, but to me, he kind of breaks face and kind of talks in his true voice, which was the original voice. Just, man, what a performance. So now there are 2 Doctors, which means there are 2 endings to this story. And one of them is your standard new Doctor taken to the TARDIS and flying off and having a brand new adventure. But this time around it's more complicated because we got the old Doctor at the same time. The passing of the torch scene on the unit headquarters is absolutely gorgeous. Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor embracing David Tennant's Doctor, saying, "I got you," and giving him a gentle kiss on the head. Just, man, the humanity. I loved this so much. And it happens so quickly that it's hard to digest this this brand new nuance of having old and new conversing with each other in such style. The only thing that ever came close to this was Peter Capaldi's first episode with Matt Smith's Doctor on the phone, and he's going, "Is that the Doctor?" and then Capaldi is going, "Is that the Doctor?" with Clara in between. But this is on a whole other level. I think this is the 60th anniversary payoff. I think this is... I mean, I've kind of griped about not getting quite enough retrospect on these anniversary specials, but I suppose really, when you break it down, its main purpose is to establish Doctor Who going forward. And I think this reinvention of the wheel is bold, is brave, but it works. And it just keeps on giving. The Doctor pulls out a giant hammer, and because the toy maker's crazy magical energy has lingered, he is able to bash the TARDIS and create 2 TARDISes. Simple as that. So 2 Doctors, 2 TARDISes. Ncuti Gatwa is off. It ends with him flying off to go on a brand new adventure and create a brand new saga of Doctor Who for old fans, but most importantly for new audiences alike, and that's a good thing. But what about David Tennant's Doctor? This whole storyline fascinates me. The whole scene of him sitting and having dinner, lunch, tea, supper with the nobles absolutely fascinates me. You know, I don't have the clip I don't have the actual point of reference to give to you guys here to substantiate my memory, but I distinctly remember there was a Doctor Who Confidential, and I'm pretty sure it was the Doctor Who Confidential when David Tennant was about to regenerate, aka the End of Time 2-part special. And I believe, if my memory serves me right, David Tennant was being interviewed and he was talking about the heartbeat of the Time Lord thing, which was the thing that was the sound of the drums in the Master's head. Excuse me. And he explains how Russell T Davies has this baffling talent of taking old things and bringing them into new narratives to create new depth. So much to the point, and these were almost David Tennant's exact words, I'm doing this from memory here, but he said something along the lines of, it's so much so that you can't really tell if it's something new that Russell T Davies has thought of or if he planned this all along. And the reason why I'm waffling on about this is because it now kind of seems sort of strangely obvious that Russell T Davies's plan all along was to, at some point, come back and finish the 10th Doctor's story. Because looking back, isn't it sad how he regenerates, how he says, I don't want to go, whilst crying, and then he's gone, never to return, except in the 50th special, which kind of doesn't count because that happens earlier in his timeline anyway. And at the time, it was just like, yeah, that's the ending. He loved life so much that he gets a sad one. Wow, that's never been done before. I wasn't expecting that. Russell T Davies playing to his strengths, as always. But the thing is, he can't have been thinking to himself all the way back then, one day I will return to the BBC and finish the 10th Doctor's story. But maybe he did, I don't know. But it seems perfectly natural now that there is this sense of closure. The 10th Doctor, David Tennant's Doctor, finally gets the happy ending that was deprived of him back in 2010. 13 years later. 2009 even. 14 years later. So he settles down. He no longer essentially takes on the mantle of the Doctor. He finally stops running away. And the beautiful twist is that doesn't mean he has to die. That doesn't mean he has to sacrifice himself. He can come home and he can sit with the people he loves and he can just settle. He can earn his retirement. Doctor Who has ended. Russell T Davies has ended Doctor Who. But he hasn't, because it's carrying on at the same time with the new guy, Ncuti Gatwa. That, distinguished followers, is very, very clever. And I think this is what the 60th anniversary was all about. So I thoroughly approve of this. I think it ticked all the boxes in terms of giving the audience what they wanted and paving the way for the future whilst offering closure. Maybe it was a kind of allegory for the fact that Doctor Who as a TV institution never ends. That there's no ending to it, because there will always be a thing of the next Doctor in 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, I don't know. Who can say? But Doctor Who's lasted this long, and maybe Russell T was thinking about the fact that it's his 60th, and maybe it was time to close the book on Doctor Who, but carry it on at the same time. And he did it. It is mad. It is insane. But I love it. And that's it, really. The explanation as to why Jodie Whittaker's Doctor regenerated into David Tennant's Doctor is kind of sparse. It was basically summed up in the line, because you wanted to come home. So she regenerated into a former self because she was finally desperate to retire. The Doctor was secretly finally tired of running away. And I guess when you think about it like that, it makes perfect sense. Why did her clothes regenerate? Christmas special. Pirate goblins. Oh boy, I am there for that. So, that's it. The end of the specials. I think these specials, they were definitely unexpected. They were definitely different to what people thought they were going to be. They were definitely bold and brave and uncompromising in their political messages, not agendas, messages. And I just think that given time, these will settle in the brain and be looked upon with fondness, or at least I'd like to think so. I've been kind of critical of them for certain reasons, but I think as a whole, as an entire product, 1 to 3, looking back, I think it's been a blast. I think it's been a ride, and I think to go in this direction to save what many considered to be a bit of a sinking ship in the Chibnall era, I think history will show it to be a success, not necessarily overly perfect, but a success nonetheless. And because it's Doctor Who, we are blessed with the opportunity to look forward to the next chapter, to see what happens next, to see what the RTD2 Ncuti Gatwa era looks like, and all the relevant spin-offs. I am very excited, and even though I wasn't quite so much last week, I feel very well fed now. I feel, as a Doctor Who fan, I feel satisfied. I think the Giggle took it up to 11, and I'm very, very pleased. Most of what I said has been a subjective, opinionated waffle, and I would love to read your comments. So please, let it all go in the comment section. Tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. And thank you for watching these videos. Thank you for being such a strong, supportive community. Thank you for having such diplomacy with one another in the comment section. This is very, very corny, but I'm very, very proud to have you guys as my viewers. I think you're all an antithesis to toxicity in the internet, YouTube, Doctor Who space, and I'm very grateful and honoured that that's happening under the Chosen Chimp flag, as small and blurry as that flag is. So long may it continue. Keep up the good work, guys. Thank you so much. Again, it's corny. Without you, this channel would be nothing. And without your support, I'd have canned it years ago. So what can I say? It's you that keeps me going. These are all very naff lines. But yeah, it's the truth. So I'm saying them anyway. Listen, Probably, well, definitely the next time you'll see me in this studio will be on Boxing Day when I review The Church on the Ruby Road. The Church on Ruby Road. Pirate goblins. What's there not to like? Cheers, everybody. Take care of yourselves and have a good one. If you like this video, this is just a quick reminder that you can support The Chosen Chimp over on Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/chosenchimp and become a distinguished follower for just £1 a month. It's there that you can request your favourite classic Doctor Who story for review. Thank you for your support.